Hi, I'm Roy from Roy's Garage. Today I have a 2010 Nissan Frontier and I'm going to show you how I replace the front brake pads, rotors, and flush out the brake system. These are the tools that I'm going to be using today. Pry bar, hood prop, rubber mallet, bottled water, brake fluid, brake cleaner, half-inch drive wrench, 21mm socket, 10mm wrench, 14mm wrench, 19mm wrench, ceramic lubricant, anti-seize, a suction ball. This is a dual brake caliper compressor, small screwdriver, air gun, and a Phoenix brake bleeder. After I get the tire off, I'm going to loosen the brake bleeder screw. The reason why I want to do it now is because this caliper is actually mounted. It's solid, so it's easier to loosen it now. And in some cases, it's really hard to come off because it's all rotten. And if you're going to break this bleeder screw, now is the time to break it, not later. Okay. I'm gonna get the rubber hammer, just tap it, loosen it up, make it a little snug. Now I'm gonna remove the brake caliper using a 14mm wrench with my rubber hammer. Gotta move that away because you don't want things falling into that pan. Okay. We're gonna move this spring. I'm gonna move this pads. Then I'm going to remove the caliper mounting bolt. This uses a 19mm wrench. Remove the rotor. You just gotta move the rotor. Okay, so I'm gonna be cleaning this brake rotor. The reason is from the factory they shoot oil on top of the rotor, and you need to remove the oil. So I'm going to be using this brake clean to clean the rotor. And then with a clean rag or a towel, just wipe it. You gotta get all of this oil off. Sometimes you might have to do it once, sometimes you can do it twice. It's up to you. Main thing, you get all that oil off. Okay, now it's nice and dry, so now we're going to be installing the rotor. Okay, so now I'm going to hang this caliper with this galvanized wire to get it out of the way. You can use anything. It doesn't have to be a wire. It could be a rope, anything. Whatever you got lying around. This is just to get it out of the way, and so it doesn't put any stress on the brake line. Just like that. Okay, before we install the rotor, it's a good idea to put some anti-seize right on the center of the hub. You don't have to, but this is what I do. So the next time when you do the brake job, the rotor doesn't get stuck. It's easy to come off. Okay. Put the rotor on. You want to put 2 nuts on to just secure it to the hub so it doesn't flap around. Makes it a lot easier. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to lubricate the caliper mount. So what we're going to do is take these pins apart, clean it up, and lubricate it. So what I need to do is pull this boot back, the rubber boot, and just pull the pin out. Wipe it down. Give them some lube in here. We'll lubricate this guy. And the next side, pull the boot down and then pull the pin out. Some grease in there. Lubricate this pin. Put it in. So these pins gotta be able to move freely. Your caliper has to slide. If it doesn't, then you're gonna get premature pad failure. Now we're going to lubricate the hardware. In the new set of pads, they come with brand new hardwares. If your old ones are still good, reuse it, because when you use the new one, it doesn't fit good and sometimes it falls out. So if you can reuse the old ones, reuse it. If it's broken, then of course you gotta change it. But anyway, so we're going to lubricate the hardware. You don't need very much, just a little. Now we're going to mount it. Okay. Then we're going to tighten up with a 19mm wrench, and don't be afraid to make it real tight because it needs to go really tight. And you can't break the bolt. This is a grade 10 bolt. They're all grade 10. Just keep hitting it until it don't move anymore. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to compress the piston in on the caliper. Okay. So I'm going to be using this compressor, caliper compressor, to push the pistons in. But before I push it in, I'm going to loosen the bleeder screw to let the fluid come out while I'm compressing the piston. The reason why we're doing it this way is because if you don't, then all of this dirty fluid is going to go back up to the master. So this way, all this dirty fluid is coming out. It's not going back to the master. And then just squeeze it in until it stops. If you don't have this tool, you can use a big plier or maybe a C-clamp. You can use anything to squeeze it back in. Then you lock it up, then you can release this. Okay, now we're going to lubricate the caliper. Don't put too much of this ceramic grease on. All you need is a little. Oh. You don't need very much. This guy came out. Okay. So now, oh no. Okay. So now we're going to put the new pads in. This is the thickness between the two pads. This is a used pad and this is a new pad. You're looking at this piece right here. We're looking at. This guy is really thin, it's all worn out. So that's the difference. So now we're going to be installing the pad. Okay. Sometimes you gotta angle it in and then put it in. You gotta kind of play around with it and it'll go in. Put some ceramic grease on the inside of the pad, kind of rub it around. We're gonna have to where's that wire? I'm gonna be installing a new spring. There's these holes in the pad. You just stick the spring in. What you need to do, you need to hold these pads together, because if you let go, it's going to split apart. Sometimes it's good to have 3 hands, but when you do it yourself, you only got 2 hands. So you just got to hold a pad together and put the caliper on. Okay, bolt it on. Okay. The 14mm wrench, just tighten up the caliper bolt. With my rubber hammer, make it tight. You gotta kind of feel it. You don't want to over tighten it because it's a small bolt. You can kind of feel it, you know, when you hit it, it kind of stops, and we can just go a little bit more. Okay, remove all of this wire. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to bleed or flush out this brake system. Okay, so this is your brake master cylinder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be removing the brake fluid from the master with this suction ball. Just remove all the fluid. You could probably use a turkey baster if it fits, whatever fits, to remove this fluid. Okay, put this cover back on. Okay, this is a Phoenix brake bleeder. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be flushing your brake system. It's going to be adding a fresh fluid from the caliper all the way up to your master. That's why we had to remove the brake fluid from the master before we do this. Okay, first what we need to do, open up this brake line, connect my bleeder to this, kind of like pump it a little, make sure all the air comes out. Once the air comes out, then you stick it back on, and then just pump it. What you're doing is you're pumping fresh brake fluid from the caliper all the way up to the master. That's how you flush out the system. So it takes about half a bottle of fluid per wheel. Don't worry about this excess coming out. Can't do anything about it. But just keep pumping, and like I said, it takes about half a bottle. So anytime you're flushing or adding brake fluid, make sure that you use a new can of brake fluid. Don't use an old can, because what happens is once you open it up, moisture goes into it. It absorbs moisture, and moisture is what ruins the inside of your brake system. So if you got a can that's old, that's been open, even if it's closed and the thing is about a year or 2 years old in your trunk, throw it away. The thing has too much moisture. So always use a new can, a fresh can of brake fluid to do these jobs. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I bleed this system by myself. So now I'm going to be removing the old brake fluid from the master cylinder again. So suck it all out. Okay, now that's all out. Now we're going to be filling it up with fresh brake fluid. That's all the excess that was in the bottle. Get AutoZone. Okay. Oops, put up too much. We'll take some out. Okay, so we're going to be putting back the screen. Some cars got them, some cars don't. Put this cap on. Oh, this is a hood prop. I'm going to be using this to push the brake pedal down. This is a one-man job. First, what I need to do is I need to start the vehicle up. Here, come this way. Then what I need to do is the brake pedal, you gotta pump it. No more than halfway down, just pump it. What you're doing is you're trying to seat the caliper against the pads. Once you start feeling pressure, then it's seated already. So what I need to do now is I'm gonna use my hood prop to push the brake pedal down while I bleed the brake. So, so you can see how I did it. One side is going to be on the brake pedal, one side is going to be on the seat. I have the hood prop pushing the brake pedal, so now I'm going to open up the bleeder screw to make sure there's no air in it. Okay, that's good. There's no air in it. You just tighten it up. If there was any air in it, what you need to do is pump that brake pedal again and then put that hood rod against the chair and do it again until there's no air coming out. But what we just seen was there's no air. You got a clear stream of fluid, and that's what you want. Okay, so now I'm going to be checking for any leaks. So what I need to do is shoot some water on top of this bleeder screw because brake fluid is water soluble. Then I get my air hose. If you don't have access to the air hose, what you can do is shoot brake cleaner on top and it will evaporate. You need this thing dry. So now I'm going to go into the car and I'm going to push that pedal down like I'm coming to a real hard stop. I'm going to pressurize the system. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the hood prop and I'm going to repressure the brake pedal again. Okay, so we pressurize the system maybe about 20-30 seconds. Then what we do is we're looking at this bleeder screw to see if there's any brake fluid coming out. On this one it's dry, so I know it's not leaking. So then I can just put back my rubber cap, release the hood prop. Okay, so now we have bled the system. Now I'm going to remove the hood prop and turn off the engine. And now we're going to install the tire. So remove your two wheel nuts. If you want to, this is an option. You could put some anti-seize on the wheel nuts. It's really an option. I usually do it, keep it lubricated. Then you need a pry bar. Well, I use a pry bar to lift up the tire. This thing takes a little practice. What you need to do is line up the wheel studs with the hole. It takes a little practice. And from there you just lift it up. Put it on. Put these wheel nuts on. I use this bar to lift up the tire using its leverage, so I don't have to carry and pick up the tire. That's how you hurt your back. If you're doing this thing for a living and you're going to be grabbing and picking up the tire, eventually you're going to hurt your back. So the smart way is use a bar, pry it up, put it on. And it takes practice, but once you practice it enough, you can get in pretty fast. So I'm going to show you how to tighten up the wheel nut. I usually put my knees against the tire to shove the tire against the hub. So what we're going to do is we're going to tighten it up crisscross, in a crisscross motion. That way it gets snugged down a lot more even. I'm just going to snug it down for now. And then after this, we're going to crank it down. Then I will tighten it one more time. You can either go clockwise or counterclockwise, it's up to you. That's just to double check, make sure it's on tight. Okay, the reason why I crisscross when I tightening them up, that way it bolts up evenly. If I'm going to start just cranking it down, you know, right around, then it can warp the hub and rotor. Then you can run into pulsation problems. Thank you for watching. If you like my video, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Aloha.